G'day there, ladies and gents of the internet. I am the Braveheart Aussie and welcome to a journey in world building. Last time we explored the role of government in the creation of unique and sometimes dystopian worlds in the Diaspora. We explored the use of roll tables to establish different types of governance, from standard to anarchist and everything in between, as well as their relative level of oppression and penchant for triggering revolts. This time we'll explore another of the more economic concepts of the universe, that of trade. We've actually laid the foundation for some of this discussion in previous episodes, namely those topics related to technologies and the methods of space travel, as well as the role of the merchants of the coalition. In the Diaspora, trade is principally interplanetary and interstellar in nature, and therefore is entirely dependent on different methods of transporting goods across these vast distances. While the diversity and scale of trade across the Diaspora is immense, I want to continue to reinforce the isolated and disparate nature of human settlements in the galaxy. So I don't think we're going to be talking about huge trade networks here that span the galaxy entirely. For most colonies, self-sufficiency is a necessity, not a choice, and most would be overjoyed to be part of a grand trading network, even if that meant giving up the vast majority of their sovereignty and independence. The exception to this piecemeal flow of trade and resources is that of the Tyson Sector Compact, the largest single multiplanetary regional power block in the Diaspora. This location has seen trade flows established and mature over the course of centuries, and is the closest thing to a fully functioning interstellar economy. So let's use the compact as something of a baseline for the concepts of trade and resource flows within the Diaspora, noting that everything that happens in the compact happens less frequently, more sporadically, and with much greater risk everywhere else in the galaxy. The first type of resource trade is that of bulk commodities. These are typically spaceborne resources that are harvested and processed within a system and then traded back to major planetary settlements to fuel local industry or to maintain and improve terrestrial habitability. The primary example would be helium-3 as the main fuel source of the Diaspora, but other examples could include mineral resources like iron, chromium and titanium from failed planetoid cores in the asteroid belts, as well as ice for use in both industry and to supplement planet-side water resources. The presence of materials in a system would likely be viewed as something of a necessity to support a fully fledged colony in a star system, with the absence of any one of these materials raising serious viability risks. Given the non-perishable and unrefined nature of many of these resources, interplanetary or intra-system trade flows would likely be dominated by pods. As previously explored, these pods would be smaller craft, barrels shaped with cavernous holes for transporting all manner of bulk commodities with no crew. Launched from orbital stations above major resource extraction operations, these pods would form long lines, transiting comparatively slowly using intricate dance of gravity wells to autonomously chart a course to major industrial centres. And as previously flagged, these lines would be extremely vulnerable to attack and would require the protection services of a coalition merchant, or perhaps a free flagger if outside of compact space. On less common occasions, resource-laden pods may be launched across interstellar space to nearby systems. This would typically be the bulk of interstellar trade, taking advantage of competitive advantages of one star system in a particular commodity to address its absence or limited supply in another. If the receiving system has a great deal of dependence on those commodities that they are receiving, this may constitute something of a power imbalance between the two systems, and therefore result in associated tensions. Conversely, if two-way trade is established, this mutually beneficial flow of commodities might see both systems move above the threshold of subsistence and establish the foundation of something of an economic alliance. In the case of the compact, such interstellar pod flows are ubiquitous and frequent, with pods being launched across a variety of star systems in an intricate web of resource flows that results in compact worlds generally experience the least level of resource shortages in the Diaspora. In some of the systems, like Kainara and Annas, interstellar pod launches may be so frequent that orbital pod collection depots will have been formed to gather the pods from intra-system sources to await launch. So large are these depots that they can be seen leading and trailing the rapid moving star of the launch station in orbit from the surface of many planets. So what about more bespoke resources? Well, these can be almost anything that is useful and valuable. Rare crystals or minerals with unique properties, nutritious crops and meat products, or even the livestock themselves. Or perhaps it's a strange life form, of which there are many across the galaxy. All of these may form the basis of trade between systems. And again, using the compact as an example, the planet of Samiyaji is home to a global forest with a myriad of carnivorous, poisonous and noxious plants. This forest, while extremely dangerous, is also home to incredibly valuable alien plant specimens that, if collected and appropriately prepared, fetch a high price in other compact worlds. Another example is that of rare earths, with large deposits highly sought after and extremely valuable with future advanced techno-economic applications. Examples of rare earths used in the Diaspora include gadolinium for anti-gravity drive unit casings, ruthenium as a non-volatile electro-resistive baseplate material for MPU-2 components, and neodymium and dysprosium for use in high-energy lasers, in motor and generator magnets, and as a structural nanofiber filament material. The discovery of a unique and extremely valuable resource is always the dream of every new settler or prospector, and significant effort is put into poring over scan data and field reports of prospective colony sites for hints of rare or valuable resources. So using the TTRPG roll table technique again, I imagine rolling a d6 to determine the broad type of unique or valuable resource produced by a colony or settlement. For larger planets with multiple settlements, you might need to roll multiple times. Rare resources for trade could include alien specimens, agrarian, mineral, production inputs, manufactured goods, or technologies. An advantage of establishing the trade resource of a settlement is that it also allows you to infer the economic development status of that colony. This is because rare resource options scale from foraging all the way through to a full techno-industrial economy. When combined with the scale of the settlement or planet of Moon, which itself could be subject to a d6 roll table, can provide guidance as to how the settlement is developed. For example, a technologically advanced but small colony may be a new settlement established by a rich benefactor seeking an isolated location for their scientific experiments. On the other hand, if the colony is large but remains primitive in their resource production, then it may have been stuck in the agrarian phase of development, not unlike Aralok in one of our previous lore videos. And it is for more specialist resources that chartercraft become more prominent in trade flows, with coalition and free flagger merchants regularly seeking out new isolated and hitherto undiscovered resource sources to transport across the Diaspora. Rather than using lifts to raise the resources into orbit for loading into pods, most merchant ships end up making landfall and load up the cargo hold directly. Of course, the relationship between settlements with new resources and merchants can always be tense, with ongoing negotiations as to who gets what cut and the need for mutual trust often driving both parties into conflict. This potential for tension can also mean that settlements and merchants are often hyper-protective of mutually beneficial relationships, with merchants often becoming the patrons of settlements while colonies themselves effectively adopting a merchant and their crew. So let's explore the resource and raid play in the Diaspora with another lore video. This time I've added the resource table along with the settlement size rolls to the previous governance and terror tables to create another setting or story. As we close, let me just say a big welcome to all the new subscribers. As I'm recording this, the channel has over 5,500 subscribers after only 2 months of operating, which is an incredible growth, and I really appreciate everybody joining us in this journey. And make sure you go and hit the notification bell so you get notified when new videos drop, and I would love to hear from you, participating in polls or in comments below about your ideas for future videos. Also check out my Patreon. There you can support the channel and get access to cool, high quality custom lore cards covering a different aspect of lore of the Dark Diaspora, as well as to help sustain the hard work that's going into these videos. So thank you again, I hope you all have a wonderful day, and may the journey continue.
Hey!